up to the threat they face from computer systems which don't recognise the year 2000.
Our main cooking process is controlled by a very, very complex system. Now, we would be mugs if we didn't look at it and overcome the issue there.
The government's been accused of underestimating the scale of the threat. Tony Blair told a conference on the Millenium Bug that almost £100 million would now be spent on raising awareness and on training an army of 20,000 bug busters.
If we don't act, then the result will be loss of money, of power and influence, perhaps on a disastrous scale. If we do act, however, we can make Britain ahead of the game, better prepared than anyone else.
Maybe a formatting problem.
For the professional bug busters, there's plenty of work. Sainsbury's is spending £40 million to ensure its systems work. The process is simple, the scale of the task huge.
Let's try the year 2000 on that.
It is a matter of changing a line of code, but when you look at an organisation like Sainsbury's, they have 21 million lines of code, so within that you have to find the right lines of code to change and make the change correctly, and then make sure that you've made the change correctly. That's the challenge.
As the seconds tick away towards the year 2000, companies are calculating that the cost of fixing the Millenium Bug will amount to tens of billions of pounds. The government's new money won't make that much difference, but by putting his name to the campaign, the Prime Minister hopes to give it added urgency. Rory Catlin-Jones, BBC News, Central London.
Well, I'm joined now by Adam Taylor, a partner in the City of London law firm Withers. They've carried out research to find out whether big companies are prepared for the Millenium Bug. Mr. Taylor, leaving aside big companies for a moment, dealing with ordinary people like you and me, if things aren't done to sort this out, what will we notice is wrong when we wake up on the first morning of the new millennium?
Well, various things could happen. Personal computers may not work, household appliances which depend on the date, like video recorders, for example. And then maybe wider questions, let's say we go into work, the security system may not operate, perhaps we can't get in the door, and there may be problems with lifts, air conditioners, there's been warnings that traffic lights could fail, power cuts. Nobody really knows, but they're the kind of things that could be affected by this.
A pretty bad day, in fact. Are we as unprepared as some seem to fear we are?
Well, there seems to be a fairly low level of awareness of the issue, particularly among small to medium-sized companies. And that relates both to the technical issues themselves, and also, we found, to the legal issues. And there are legal issues here. I mean, effectively, there is a legal time bomb which needs to be addressed, as well as the technical time bomb.
Which is what exactly?
Well, just to take one example, let's say I'm a manufacturer, and let's say my production line won't work because my computers fail, or my financial system software goes down and I can't process orders. Or perhaps my systems are okay, but a supplier from whom I get key components that I put into my product, they go down. And the end result of all of that is that the customer may not get what they ordered and they may sue. And what we say is that companies need to look into that now. It's too late to wait until 2000.
To find out whether they're liable or not.
Exactly. Now is the time to sort it out. They've got to dig out the contracts and make it clear as to who is liable.
All right.
They've got to talk. It's important to talk to customers and talk to suppliers, but at the same time, companies should know where they stand legally, and now is the time to address it.
Ms. Taylor, thanks very much indeed. Britain's last remaining and most prestigious major car firm, Rolls-Royce, looks set to be sold to the German company BMW. Rolls-Royce's parent company, Vickers, has agreed in principle to part with it for £340 million. But a group of Rolls-Royce owners who'd been preparing their own bid say they intend to put forward a higher offer in an attempt to keep the company in British hands.
Handcrafted, expensive and as quintessentially British as cucumber sandwiches, for decades the names of Rolls-Royce and Bentley have stood for superiority on the road. The rich, royal, famous or powerful regarded a roller as the ultimate status symbol. Even Lenin and Chairman Mao allowed themselves that little indulgence. But now it looks as though Rolls and Bentley, the last two great names of British car making, like Rover and Jaguar before them, will pass into the hands of a foreign giant.
We'll still retain all of our Britishness. The car will still be built in Britain, still be built in Crewe, still be built by British workmen and women. But what we can do is to get the strength of a good, solid automotive parent behind us.
When Henry Royce met Charles Rolls and started car making more than 90 years ago, their first model cost just under £400. BMW's paying $340 million for Rolls-Royce motor cars, beating off Volkswagen. But a group of wealthy Rolls-Royce customers is angry at today's news and wants a chance to keep British ownership of what they see as a national asset. The group plans to outbid the Germans, but Vickers says everyone had the same chance and it's tough luck.
We had to put a date to this because we don't want uncertainty for our shareholders, and of course not for Rolls-Royce motor cars, its employees and customers. So everybody had a proper opportunity and a fair opportunity to bid. If they missed the deadline date and didn't appear to be credible, I'm afraid there's not much to do with us.
At the Rolls-Royce factory in Crewe this morning, workers jokingly said good morning to each other in German, but they seemed to accept the assurances from their bosses that there was no real British alternative, and that German-owned or not, a Rolls-Royce will always be a Rolls-Royce. George Eakin, BBC News.